of all, good morning to you all. I'm delighted to be here. The time is right. We are at a crossroads today. I mean, we have gone through the Millennium Development Goals. 2015 is our deadline for it. We're now talking about sustainable development. We went through the climate change crisis. During all of these debates, information and communications technology has never been part of the problem, has always been part of the solution. And youth employment is one of the key problems of our society. As you all know, our Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, is very much attached to the future generations, to the youth. That's why he appointed a special envoy for the youth, because it was the first Secretary General of the BYND to ever do that. And we are here today because we believe that we should listen, hear from you. And we need to find the solutions from you. I believe that there is no better voice than that of the youth. And that's why President Shinshia was very kind to arrange this under the framework of the Child Arm Protection, for which she is the global patron for IPU. Protecting children in cyberspace is one of the greatest challenges that we are facing today, and President Shinshia has been very much committed to that, and we commend her leadership, and we are delighted that she is bringing the youth today here together in San Jose, Costa Rica. Today is the day for the youth as well. It's the Children's Day today. So there's no better time than this. Thank you very much, Minister Garnier. Welcome. Why are we doing this event in Costa Rica, and why do you think we're doing it now, and why should we choose this global dimension? Well, it's a pleasure to be here celebrating this impressive conference. Why do it in Costa Rica? Because for a long time in Costa Rica, in the 80s, we understood that these technologies could be incredibly powerful when used in education, when we still didn't have the internet, and we just were starting to talking about computers in schools. Costa Rica, we started a program of educational computer science, which had never been done before, because it was not about teaching the students how to use a word processor or an Excel sheet as a work tool for when they graduated, but it was about telling and using computer sciences to teach students to learn how to think. It was the educational use of computer science, not just learning how to use a computer. And this has allowed us to accrue an experience that has been extremely useful of how education can be empowered by using the ICTs. And of course, we also have the internet boom. And this conference gains importance because our greatest question today is, how can we allow a good internet connection to every student in every educational center? And the third reason is that in order to understand how we can implement these things, I think the best way is to ask the youth themselves. The use that the young boys and girls of technology goes beyond anything we're thinking about. So we need to listen to the words of our youth to learn how to take our next step forward. Thank you very much. Ahmad, you are the first UN Secretary General Envoy on Youth. Can you explain to us what is involved in this function and what will be the key areas of focus during your next 4 years? Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. And today we have a larger audience, perhaps, and I look forward to the discussion. I really like the setting, so I really look forward to it. Going back to your question, the first envoy, I just wanted to quote Mr. Hamdou Touré. We just had an exchange of ideas before we entered the room, and we were talking about the challenges that young people are facing. And he said something that was very interesting, that many people around the world are not truly aware of the scope of the problem that we're facing right now. The fact that more than 500 million jobs need to be created in the next 15 years. And with that in mind, we need to invest more in the youth. We need to realize that in the world population, most of them are under 25 years old. So part of my job and part of the mandate that I've been given through the UN has been to, first of all, allow people to realize the opportunity and the challenges that we are facing if we don't invest in the youth. There's a great opportunity when we invest in half the world population, but there are also normal challenges that are facing them, from access to quality education, to find decent work opportunities, and to access to a healthcare system. My focus and my mandate is, first of all, to bring more harmonization to the work of the United Nations on youth. As you know, the UN is a very big system, has many different agencies that are already doing different types of youth projects. We need to harmonize the UN work on youth. And now, for the first time ever, we have a common strategy for the UN and youth called System-Wide Action Plan. And with this one common strategy for the youth, bring more coordination to our work and also to bring more commerce to cooperate with us. We also focus on advocacy and to advocate for a stronger youth agenda around the world and youth policy, and we need to ensure that the governments and private sectors do more for youth. We're also focusing on promoting more access points for young people to work with the United Nations. Participation is one of the top priorities in my agenda because I believe that nothing for the youth should ever be done without the youth participation. We can't talk about youth without involving youth in the discussion. My objective here is to make sure that we are bringing help to the youth in a structured way through the United Nations. That's why the Secretary General of the UN announced that we'll have a youth advisory board for the UN country teams and at the country level. And also, with the close collaboration of Mr. Soya, and we're also promoting regional youth forums and finding more ways of bringing people to work at the United Nations. And last but not least, we also need to realize that we need to increase investment in youth issues, and we need to work with youth leader organizations. And one of the guiding principles of my work is to partner with the youth. I'm fully partnered with youth organizations, and that's why I'm looking forward today to hear ideas of how the UN can work with you. Thank you very much. You have a very great responsibility, and we are very happy to have you representing us. Ambassador Osorio, it is a privilege for us to have the president of the ECOSOC. You complement perfectly the work of Mr. Ahmad, and while he's the special envoy of the UN Secretary, you're the elected president of one of the most relevant and powerful UN bodies. Could you tell us why youth matters for the ECOSOC, Economic and Social Council? And thank you very much. And first of all, let me tell you how delighted I am to be here in this gathering that is producing a tremendous energy in this room. And we're here to exchange views and to hear your voice together with maintaining peace and security and defending human rights. The Economic and Social Council is one of the pillars of the UN, and it's the one that goes out and is in touch with the real world. And it's the one that should be receive and create the necessary environment for concrete recommendations of economic and social policy. And youth, of course, is at the center of what we are building for the future. When we think that more than 1.2 billion people in the world are between the age of 15 and 25, and out of those people, there are more than 73 million who are unemployed, the responsibility of those who are in charge of policy making and of creating an environment that will allow this youth to truly participate and to give them truly a part in what will be the building of the future is an essential responsibility of the international community. So, in a way, what we are as members of the UN and specifically of this council, it's to create an environment that, in the case of science and technology and innovation and participation of the youth in these areas, we could look forward to promoting openness, transparency, accountability, and effectiveness. Those are the areas in which, by way of acting, of innovating, of participating in shaping our future, that's how the youth can contribute enormously. And we are there to facilitate, to create this proper atmosphere and proper environment to develop these ideas. So we need to be very conscious about the revolution. I was going to say we're witnessing, but we're not witnessing it. We're this revolution. And you, the youth, are the main actors of this revolution because you are there to try, you're there to think, and you're there to think the unthinkable, and you're there to challenge those who think they are right. And so this is important in the sense that when you promote and when you ask for access to information, we are in the middle of a major political issue worldwide, which is access to information, which implies political responsibility and economic facility. So in these areas, perhaps we can go back. But when we talk about access to information and how important it is, especially you who are in this permanent communication and access to media, you need to also think, as we're thinking as policymakers, how we can guarantee this access and how to be this access to information as a responsible activity. Thank you very much, Dr. Touré. Building up on what Ambassador Osorio was just mentioning, why does the summit put so much emphasis on the role of ICTs, and what do you think is the link between ICTs, youth, and social change? Well, the oldest and all the latest changes in the revolution that we're living in today has been driven by information and communications technologies. The particular feature of information, it's one thing when you share it, it multiplies. Anything else, when you share it, is divided. And that's the power of the tool that we have in our hands today. How do we make good use of it? Well, there are some downsides. We talk about cybersecurity, but that downside should not overshadow the positive things that come out of it. We're gathered here today in this conference, and this conference goes beyond the walls of this room. We are talking about 400 to 500 people gathered here in this room, but we have thousands of people gathered around the world. We have 30 countries, 50 hubs in those 30 countries, over 3,000 people from developing countries, and some of them do not have access to the internet. And therefore, we really are organizing the most inclusive conference ever and using the power of communication. So we are also giving the voice to the younger generations because this is about them. We're expecting them to find the solutions and to tell us what is the future they are dreaming of and how they want to achieve it. And we are hoping that during this meeting, we will be taking this issue to the United Nations, to the General Assembly, and to the other levels of the UN, so that together we can build the future that you will be proud of. Thank you very much. Mr. Leonardo, youth is always linked to education, although in many countries it is still a luxury to have quality education. As Minister of the Education of Costa Rica, what do you think are the main challenges that you are trying to address through the programs and policies indicated by your ministry? Well, I believe that the link between youth, education, and development is key. Costa Rica, like most other countries in Latin America, has great challenges to break the vicious circle of poverty. This has been a continent where, for many decades, the development strategies depended on the use of cheap labor who was underskilled, undereducated, with poor salaries, low productivity, and on the other hand, on an abusive use of our natural resources. In the last 30 years, Costa Rica has been going through a process of learning how to take advantage of, or how to make use of a youth population that is more sophisticated, that is able to work focused on innovation processes, and very closely, hand in hand with sustainability of the environment. And the youth have been key in this effort. How the new generations perceive environmental sustainability is in a way that we had never even dared to dream. The way they approach the productional sectors with an idea of innovation, of research, of collaborating and problem solving, and this focuses on challenging and structuring education differently of how we did it in the past. And something that finally is perhaps the most important point of all is that the new generations need to learn how to do these things from the perspective of sharing, of living with each other. That's our greatest challenge of all. we often talk about the soft skills in a very abstract sense, but in our daily lives, from early primary schools to high school, both boys and girls need to learn how to work together, not despite their differences, which is often how we word it, but precisely by enjoying and making the most out of these differences. When these technologies allow the youth worldwide to share with each other, it's a very powerful tool for also arts, sciences, economy. There are very creative solutions when the youth worldwide has access to these tools and are able to work on these challenges together. And of course, we need to educate them differently. Thank you very much. Mr. Garnier was talking a lot about collaboration between different disciplines and different countries and perspectives from all over the world. Ahmad, in your view, what is the role that ICTs is playing in pairing youth around the world in both developing and developing countries, and how do you plan to emphasize this role in your new role? Well, first of all, let me ask how many people have Twitter here? Twitter. Well, how many people have Facebook accounts? Of course, that goes without saying. I'm just teasing you. Well, I think that there's a correlation now between the youth and the ICTs. You can't mention ICTs, innovation, without mentioning the youth. You can't mention youth in any event without starting to talk about how we can use ICTs. This goes without saying. And it's clear that some of the greatest inventions when it comes to ICTs were led by young people. And when I say it's clear, I don't even make the case of the need for ICTs. However, many people tend to forget or take them for granted. Do you know why we take ICTs for granted? Because they're so accessible for us. ICTs are invisible for us. We take them for granted, but if we don't have internet in this room, we'll realize it becomes a big issue for all of us. We were talking about how we can't connect to the internet right now. So it's an invisible tool, but believe it or not, it's not truly invisible, because it's not accessible to many people around the world. More than 2/3 of the world population is still offline, and this is a big challenge for all of us. When I think about this, I think about it in a matter of affordability, accessibility, availability, and applicability as well. For the youth, availability in the sense that how many people around the world today have internet available to them. In terms of services sometimes, you know that in 31 countries where broadband connection is the least affordable, the cost of subscription to broadband internet equals to half of your salary. And how can we talk about accessibility in these conditions? It's not accessible in this case. And the second point here is whether it's affordable or not, but the third is whether it's applicable or not. In many different languages, we still don't have enough materials, enough content for people to be able to access the internet and to use that information that is available on the internet. And the barrier language, I think that's another issue that we need to address. Why debate of the importance of ICTs? We need to realize that first of all, it's not accessible to everyone yet, and it's not affordable to many people around the world. And the work of the UN, we are trying to use this while we are acknowledging the fact that it's still not accessible to many young people around the world. Just last week, I launched an online platform for the youth to bring all the work of the UN agencies on youth on one single place, and it's /envoy, where you can access information about the work of the UN agencies on youth. So it's a venue, a platform that even with makes the work of the United Nations more accessible. But I think we still need to do more in terms of making sure that the internet is more available to people, that information is more available, but also guess what? Electricity. 1.3 billion people around the world still don't have electricity. So for them to talk about ICTs is like talking about something that's still very far away. We need to work together. What we're debating in this forum is extremely important. We're not talking about ICTs for the sake of ICTs. We're talking about ICT as an enabler for the world we want, for post-2015 development agenda. How can we make sure that ICT continue to drive our innovation and the way we think about our future while we're still thinking about those who might be left behind? So we don't want to leave anyone behind. And to make that a certainty, we need to make sure by focusing our efforts on all the population and having a new development agenda. and also to continue working on our Millennium Development Goals. So I urge you to think about ICTs as a tool and making sure that the world we want is something achievable, and that our new Millennium Development Goals will continue with our commitment to them, but also we need to think about how being active on achieving these Millennium Development Goals. And one last word here, the world that we want is not just what the UN says or it's a world for everyone. And when you meet here, you realize the power that ICTs can give every single one of us, so that nobody is voiceless anymore. We all have a voice, but we need to give voice who are still voiceless. Thank you very much. I totally agree with you. This invisible tool is something that we need to keep in mind and that we take for granted very often. Ambassador Osorio, this summit is about the ideas and use of the youth, but also has an important objective about addressing the role of ICTs in the UN post-2015 development agenda. How do you describe the role of ICTs for development then? Which sectors stand the most to gain, in your opinion? And also taking into consideration this invisible tool, and do you think that ICTs are well understood and promoted by countries and by decision makers? Yes, I think that what Hamad has just said gives me the basis to develop a little bit on this regard. By 2015, it's not just a casual reference. 2015 is the year in which, after 15 years, the Millennium Development Goals are supposed not to end, but to be evaluated. When the heads of states in 2000 established these goals, especially geared to facilitate the development in developing countries, that's why we're talking about eradicating poverty, access to primary school, gender equality, the reduction of child mortality. All of these aspects were very much focused on improving the lives of human beings and providing better conditions for life. So now, when we evaluate, and this council, the ECOSOC, is going to devote all of the year 2014 to focusing on how in the 193 countries these goals have been implemented and how they've been developed. For governments to have these goals has been a tremendous tool to gear the government programs and to establish specific targets. Now, after Rio Plus 20, the conference that was held last year, we're focusing on a more universal and comprehensive approach. We're going to talk about sustainable development goals, which are the basis for general sustainable development. And this is where ICTs and the innovation that is involved in youth in these tools is going to be a cross-cutting issue, in which the contribution to the illustrative goals that we're talking about, not just simply 8, but 18, that cover food security, energy, the way to deal with cities, how to provide maintenance to rural area, how to provide better health care. Wherever you go, you will see that technology, information, innovation will contribute and will be a necessary tool to make these objectives more approachable. So, I think that we have here a tremendous challenge. And this challenge is that of using all of these tools that we have in our hands to contribute to this sustainable development. And it's not just about how to improve the life in a few developing countries. It's how the developed countries are going to contribute to maintaining and sustaining this planet. There is a figure that many of you will be familiar with because it's often repeated. The planet that we have currently, if we want to keep it as it is, we need 2.5 planets in order just to keep it as is, which is already in a quite deteriorated state. And in 2050, we're probably going to be 9 billion people, not 7. And these people are going to eat twice as much food that we consume today. And if we don't use the tools of innovation to create an environment in which all of the issues that are challenging us will be possible, then we'll be in real trouble. Thank you very much. We have more questions for our panelists, but we want to open the word to the floor in case that you may have questions prepared. If you have any questions that you would like to ask our panelists, please raise your hand. There's one there. Okay, thank you very much. Can someone help me with the microphone? Over here. Here in the center. And there's a gentleman over here who also has a question. Good morning. My name is Scarlett Sanchez. And my question is for the Special Envoy of the UN. We're talking about, there are a lot of things to do. We heard it mentioned of the president of ICOSOC. We need 2.5 planets to be able to sustain the planet as is. How we, the youth, can participate directly in our communities to make a change. What is our participation? Are we taken into account? Are we really being taken into account? Thank you very much. How the youth can participate. I think that is, let me just tell you how I understand myself, the world that we want, or this debate about MDGs or post-MDGs. One of the issues of how individuals can contribute to tackle the global challenges we're facing. The fact is, if we look at most of our present challenges, they are global challenges by nature. And to respond to these challenges, we need a global response as well. We need to promote global partnerships. But the question, what is the role of individuals, especially young people, in joining forces in all of these efforts? The way I understand post-2015 agenda is similar to the world of social contracts, but it's a development contract. It's a development contract that defines responsibilities for everyone on this planet. And that's why I said it's not just a job of the UN or of the governments alone. It's the responsibility of everyone to ensure that, as Mr. Osorio said, we need 2.5 planets. And I think that it's important to remember that when you usually talk about Plan B, but we don't have a Planet B. We only have one planet, and we need to figure out how we can make it sustainable. To do that, I encourage all of you and all of the youth organization to look at the MDGs and align their work with those of the MDGs to make sure that all the work that we do at the local level is in line with our global agenda. We're trying to define a global agenda for development. What the UN will continue to do is provide venue for all actors to meet and to see, okay, these are our challenges, these are our opportunities, and this is the way forward. But we need everybody to be on board. What I'm hoping for is for young people to continue participating in setting our new development agenda. But while we're talking about this, we keep true to the title of this conference, Beyond 2015. So let's define our work not by 2015, but beyond 2015. Something we're considering now is to have a platform for all of us to applaud and see how we're going to contribute to make this agenda, to implement it, and to find a swift implementation. So once again, I don't think it's just the job of one party or two. I think youth organizations have a critical role in implementing the post-2015 development agenda. And I want to challenge you back by saying, how can we come out of this meeting with concrete ideas for making sure that the youth can continue to participate in the implementation of our development agenda post-2015? And this can be something that is very important to carry at the General Assembly this year. Exactly. And I think we are here to hear from you, the youth. This is your future that is at stake. We don't want to be, we want this to be about you. We want you to be part of it. Be bold, be creative, and let us know what we can do, or simply tell us to step out of the way if we're getting in the way. Those are the types of things that we're expecting from you here. And we are expecting to be challenged when we see so many young and bright people in a single room together. And the opportunity is open. When I was 20, I didn't have the same opportunity. But today, we hope that you have this opportunity to tell us what you want. And President Chinchilla will be taking your message very strongly. the president of ECOSOC is here. We have all of the regions here together to try to have a partnership. This is a partnership. We're here to hear from you. And there are tools that are in your hands today that are in the hands of many people out there. We're in the information society today. Our next goal is to enter the knowledge society. What is a knowledge society? It's a society where everyone has access to information, but as Amit said, access is not enough. You need to be able to use the information. And using information is simply not enough. You have to create information. Every citizen on this planet has that potential to create information. And that's the power that we have here, regardless of where they're coming from, whether it's developed or developing countries. And therefore, we're giving you a tool that gives you equal opportunity to everyone. And last but not least, I told you that the three pinnacles for access to information, using information, and creating information. Last but not least, sharing information. And then we enter a knowledge society. What a beautiful society we want to create here. That society will address all of the key issues of our planet. We talk about the Millennium Development Goals, education, health, food. ICTs can be a part of the solution for each of these cases. Climate change is one of the fundamental challenges that we're facing today. Through satellites monitoring, through the use of ICTs, we can save this planet. Any major issue that has been addressed lately, the food crisis, for example. About 4 years ago, I'm sure that all of you remember the food crisis. Well, you would ask me, what does the ICTs have to do with it? ICT is not part of the problem there. The food crisis in the world is not due to the lack of food. It's the distribution chain that is wrong. And the ICT can help make sure that food does not go twice around the globe to reach its destination, and that it will be affordable. Those are the things that we are expecting from you, and that's important to engage with you here in this room today. We're starting a dialogue that will continue long beyond this conference. Thank you very much, Ambassador Osorio.
I would like to add the importance that we need to, the possibilities of contribution. It's enormous. The main thing has always been science, technology, education, and iteration. One of the things we are looking forward is how to participate and how we organize in Geneva in the month of July. It's very interesting, the Innovation Fair and Implementation Forum. It was a showcase of potentially all the technological and how to improve a sustainable livelihood. And to give you an example, for example, a company called Qualcomm created an educational platform which provided access to massive online courses for creating mobile applications. You are familiar with that, and every day we discover an application. And the heart of this company is for young people who are working and the young people who are taking these options of mobile courses and developing different initiatives. I think here it's not what we tell you you can do. You actually tell us every day what we can do for you with innovation, with accent. Thank you very much, and thank you all for lots of opinions and perspectives and very interesting challenges that you've given us. Now we're going to illustrate before closing the panel. Please stay with us. We're going to illustrate now. And we're talking also around Mr. Garnier said, the need of collaboration. We are not alone. It's just the access here. Sorry. Here. I have a question here. I'm sorry, excuse me. I can't see you, but please go ahead. Here's the microphone. We're going to do a brief question and then we go to the video. Okay. My name is BYND. I'm coming from Qatar. My question is, connecting people everywhere on the globe with internet, it's something nice. This initiative, how can we ensure that us as youth and you as policy makers will not turn this into a global big brother program or initiative just to have access to everyone's data, information, prying and spying, so to speak. So it's not the question actually, it's a statement. Let's hope we can see this topic well in the two debates. So, thank you. Now we're going to see the video. It's not only people who are here, but following from the hub. But amid that the many needs that have been stated during the last few months, and then we're going to present a video made shot in Mumbai, India. This is a message from Reality Gives student. The Ravis in Mumbai, India, we recorded a message for you because it will be very late at night here when you are talking. It is funny talking about what computers could do for our future, for businesses, for education. But the reality is that at the moment we don't have enough computers in our school or our homes. So the first thing we would like is very simple. We would like computers for everyone, everywhere. We want computers with a reliable internet connection that are cheap enough for poor people to buy. If people are rich, they can pay more for computers and technologies. If they are poor companies, they need to make computers and technologies cheaper so that they can afford them. ITC shouldn't just be for rich people. Every person who wants a personal computer should be able to have one. We want things to be equal. We think that every person in all countries should have computer classes and be educated to use ICTs. Also, we want our teachers to have better equipment like projectors so that they can teach us better. We think that better ICT equipment will improve our education in science, again, in science, medicine, and many more things. Education gives us better opportunities. Education gives us knowledge and can help people to have a better standard of living. It will improve our lifestyles and give us a bright future. It is not only our education, but everyone's education. But it's not only computers that we want everyone to have. We want everyone to have education. We want everyone to have safe water, access to healthcare and hospitals. We want everyone to have food. Maybe in the future computers can help with this. These are our ideas for the United Nations new goals. We hope you like our video. Bye. Thank you very much. This is a very clear message. It's one of the many that youths around the world are speaking. And they're looking forward to issues that they're looking forward to addressing. We want to thank you all so very much for participating in this panel. Now I'm going to invite you all to be challenged and to really take into consideration and reflect what we have discussed this morning. And from now on, try and apply it in everything that you're going to be discussing, learning, and listening so that it can really become something part of our culture and when we sign our declaration. Thank you so very much. So we also want to remind you that we want to be involved in social networks with these discussions that we're having here. Please do remember the hashtag for Twitter is BYND 2015.
To share your thoughts, further questions, ideas, etc. through there. Now, we want just to explain that from gonna be get ahead. Your environment and change your world. We hope you enjoy. Managing Director of Strategic Partnerships at TED-Med, who will be moderating. With an applause.
Thank you, Melissa. I'd like to invite the speakers onto the panel. Please join me, gentlemen. Please. Everybody? I'm missing one person. Okay, great. Howard. While Howard is getting mic'd, I just want to say this is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so we're going to mix it up a bit. So you're here to help us. We're not really here. We're here to, give you some of our ideas, some of our experience. This is not about us. You are here to change the game. The UN has done something different. They're actually stepping out. They're saying, look, this isn't about us. The average age here is probably twice the age of the average age in the crowd. You guys are going to be the future. You're the future of the UN. You're the future of the world. We need you to help us. So at the end of this panel, please give us your ideas. Feedback to the UN. At the end of the day today, we want you to break out and say, what did you actually hear? What is actually going to change in the Millennium Development Goals, the MDGs, post-2015, that actually can make a difference? This is all about you. It's not about us. We're here to give you a few ideas, but you got to take the stage. You got to say, look, this is it. Use Crowdtricity, use the blogs, use everything you've got, Twitter. Just get out there, Facebook. Tell the world what you're seeing today so that we can actually use that feedback in 2 weeks at the UN in New York to give the General Assembly the ideas of what this crowd, through ITU, through the BYND, that says, look, beyond 2015, these are the ideas that we feel are really important. So starting with that, Crowdtricity actually helped us figure out what should we talk about. Getting ahead was the thing that came to the top. Get ahead was saying youth unemployment is terrible. We're seeing it all over the world. Nobody's got the answer, but ICT has been seen as a possible solution. So we're going to take a rapid fire opportunity here to actually give you some ideas. We're going to open it up to the crowd for 10 to 15 minutes at the end, and then we're going to jump into hopefully a little bit of a panel debate here and really get the ideas flowing. So it's going to be a bit TED-like. We don't have a lot of time. We've got 45 minutes, 6 people. We've got, a few minutes each. We're going to have some ideas from you. So with that, I'm going to start. I'm going to jump into Mr. Sanu. Tell us, what you believe in youth? You deeply are passionate about development and the youth and the unemployment problems of the world. How do you see ICT and the ITU as making a change?
Hello.
There you are.
Good morning, everybody. I will start by asking you 3 questions, one after the other. First question, did you sleep well? Yes. Okay. When you woke up this morning, what is the first question you ask yourself?
Do I have Wi-Fi? Then coffee.
Okay, good. I have an answer. I'm proposing an answer. The first question should have been, what have changed when I was sleeping?
What has changed while we were sleeping?
What have changed when I was sleeping? This is what ICT is about. Third question. So, after answering this question, what's the next question you ask yourself? Next question. After the two third question, what's the next one? Eh? What is next? Okay, the answer is, what should I do to remain relevant? Otherwise, they're out of the game. Thank you very much, Randy. You may ask yourself why they're doing so all people here to come and sit and talk to you about your problem. Two reasons. First, upon the time, we were all young like you. And second, this is more important, is because all the people here believe in an ancient, very wise proverb, Indian proverb from this region. And the proverb says, we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. That's what we believe in here. This is why we are here today, to tell you that your future, what is going to happen, we are borrowing from you. It is yours. So having said that, what IT is doing in terms of putting together innovation, ICT, entrepreneurship, we do believe that everything is about capacity building. Because again, technology exists. You can buy it, you can steal it, but you cannot own it unless you have the proper capacity at individual and institutional level. This is why, particularly in the Telecommunication Development Bureau, we are putting emphasis on 4 areas of capacity building. The first one is about putting some resources at your disposal. You have created ITU Academy under the patronage of the Secretary General, Dr. Madoun Toure, where we are putting some resources at your disposal that you can use. This is a kind of academic. On the side of institutional capacity building, we are working with all the government to make sure that they put in place the right policy, the right regulation that would facilitate the contribution of the young people.
Mr. Sanu, ITU Academy, what is it about? Sharing? How can it help entrepreneurs? Because I'm just going to have to jump quickly. Give me one word. What do you want the entrepreneurs in this crowd to use the ITU Academy for?
Of course, the ITU Academy I will come to that later, because the ITU Academy is giving resources to young people. But I come to this is the first part I'm going to talk about.
Excellent.
The third one, as I said, is about capacity, institutional capacity building. No, this is the second one. The third one is capacity building at another level, because all of you could be considered as very old, and say very, very old, compared to the young of 2 or 3 years. Compared to us, you are young, but compared to those at 2 or 3 years, you are very old. How do we do to make sure that those who are 1, 2, or 3 years can get connected with the ICTs? This is where come our program, where we are working together with Iterating.org to train the women. We are training, we have a campaign for training women So far, we are training 800,000 women, and we plan to train 2 million women by the end of 2015. First, of course, those women will have enough, it will be empowered for themselves. But secondly, those women will be ICT literate, which means that they are going to groom their kid together with ICT and other things. So which means that in the future, we're no longer talking about young people who don't have ICT skills, because they will have been groomed by their mothers. The first part where we are putting a lot of emphasis and answering to your question, to be short, is entrepreneurship. In this area, we believe in peer mentoring. And for this purpose, this meeting is one of the peer mentoring. During this week here, we are going to talk to each other. Those who never did something, talking to others, they will realize they can also do it. ITU is doing a lot on that, and every year, through our telecom, we are making a contest where we get the best entrepreneurs who will come to the ITU telecom to talk to others, to talk to the industry, and also to make sure that they get enough resources and training to go ahead with the enterprise. So those are a few issues I just want to throw on the table. Of course, I'm sure we'll come back in the course of the discussion.
That's a great segue. So entrepreneurship and experience, what you've imparted on us is peer mentoring is important. But I'm going to turn to Worley, co-founder and chief innovation officer at Chaotic Moon, also the founder of the device, if you haven't seen it yet, the Board of Awesomeness. You've got to at least watch the video and someday try it. Worley, I think experience, you and I have talked a lot about this, experience doesn't necessarily breed innovation. What can you impart on us? What does breed innovation?
Failure.
Failure.
Failure is the number one tool in your arsenal to become innovative. And I believe all of you, as youth, are very creative. And I travel around the world, and I usually, the speaking goes like this. There's a bunch of people I don't fit in with, so I get all nervous, and it's awkward to be up here. And then I go and I talk to youth, and I tell them exactly what they can do. And it starts with not asking us anything. It starts with you actually getting off of your ass and going out and doing something. And then what happens is, at the end of the conference, there's always 50, 60 people lined up, and they all ask me about how I can help them. Only you can help yourself, right? As entrepreneurs, as innovators, your aversion to risk should be your greatest fear. You must stop being worried about risk. Stop worrying about failure. You must be able to go out and take risk and learn to be comfortable with failure. And the faster you can fail at your goal, the sooner that you realize that goal.
Well, a lot of experience in the room. Have any of you failed before? Akhtar's failed, all right. Akhtar Badshaw is the Senior Director of Community Affairs at Microsoft, and he drives the global philanthropy for Microsoft. So it's a big job, and he's helped a lot of people through his role. So I'll turn it over to him. And how have you failed, Akhtar?
I fail every day. Every day I wake up, the first thing I notice is, what have I not been able to do? I think the message that Wally gave is absolutely essential for all of you to understand. But before I get to the point of failure, the first thing I want you to also understand as young people is, do not take no for an answer. First and foremost, innovate, don't take no for an answer, and you will fail. There is no question about it. You will fail. But the important thing is, how do you pick yourself up and move forward? And that is really the key to what we at Microsoft do by working with young people like yourselves around the world, is ensuring that we are providing you with tools. I've traveled to bazillion countries around the world for the last 20 years, and I've chatted with many of you in different circumstances, in different conditions, in different environments. But every single time I walk out of a meeting, our conversation with optimism. Simply because you all believe in your future. You believe that the future, you will make your future. And I also know, because you tell me, that technology is going to play a role in how you shape that future. So we at Microsoft are extremely pleased to be part of this dialogue, supporting what ITU and all of you are doing. I work with about 100 nonprofit organizations around the world. My goal is to be able to reach 300 million youth over the next 3 years through our Youth Spark program, so that we can bring benefits to you through technology, so that you can get into jobs, start something on your own, or go for further education. One of the things that I tweeted about just now was that I will carry your message forward. It is something that I have agreed with Mr. Alandawi, the Secretary General's Youth Envoy, where we are going to be on a panel together in New York in 2 weeks' time at the Global Clinton Initiative. And I want to make sure that he gets the opportunity to take your message there and talk about what it is that you are concerned about and how you are looking for solutions and what we can do. So I'll leave you with one message. If you want to look at how young people are shaping and changing their lives, on September 28th, if you can get a chance, join on a TEDx event which is happening in Redmond, Washington, which is where I live. It is the only TEDx which is organized by youth, for youth, and all speakers are youth. And it is just an amazing thing. They've been doing this for the last 4 years. It was started by a 12-year-old who got invited to speak at TED, at the big TED, and she's taken this and created a global message of empowering young people. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you. So, reach
You can go ahead and clap.
All right. Good.
You don't need permission from me.
Excellent. Okay, so the important piece that may be missing here, though, is access. So getting the access and the enablement in your hands requires internet capability, requires you to actually be able to get online. Broadband and the UN Broadband Commission and last mile access is a huge challenge for the world. We have some great people in the room here. I'm going to turn to Juan Antonio Vasquez, who really understands how to get mobile access and last mile access into the hands of the rural population. Can you tell us a bit what you're doing and how you're going to help youth unemployment?
Sí, buenos días. Antes
Yes, first of all, good morning. I wanted to congratulate you for this initiative and the organizers of this event and the government of Costa Rica for welcoming this important event that was designed specifically for you, the youth. Right now, the people who are truly driven, who are truly wanting to find out and discover new things is the youth. But in the future, you will be the promoters of these new technologies. Of course, for Claro in Costa Rica and for American Mobile in January, it's an honor to be here today and to be part of this event, but also to support it.
pues,
And therefore, we try and participate as actively as we possibly can in all of the activities that have to do with ITCs. Just to address the issue a little bit, we are deeply convinced that the leveraging of ITCs have a positive impact in the social, cultural, economical growth of the different countries, having a great potential to address all these different issues and to face the challenges that are alien in the world today. And the American continent, in all of the operations where we have started, one of our objectives and part of our philosophy has always been to reach as much with the best coverage, best possible coverage possible into the farthest places, most remote areas of the countries, because we truly believe that technology must be accessible to everybody at all different social strata. So for us, it's clearly very important to be part of this revolution, of the ITC revolution, and we want you, as well as all of the other people where we operate, to have access to this technology, just as you saw that in the video a little while ago. I think that when we are at that part, that ultimate step that actually gives access to, we believe that technology by itself has no value whatsoever if it cannot be used in a very easy way for entertainment, for education, for so many other purposes. So we're convinced of this, and that's why we are committed to this philosophy.
Short on time. I can't quite believe how quickly this is going by, but what I want to do is give an opportunity for our two other guests to really impart their vision here. So enabling ICT and education through ICT, Richard, is something that you've been passionate about. Can you tell us how you, in your work with the United Nations and being the liaison for Intel, has really driven that change?
Sure, thank you. I'd like to offer you all an unofficial motto for this group and this gathering. It was said by
Richard, we're not
5 years ago.
I'm not sure we're hearing you.
Can you hear me?
There you go. That's better.
Thanks. So 45 years ago, he said, "Don't be encumbered by history. Go off and do something wonderful." And his name was Robert Noyes. He's an engineer, and he's the co-founder of a little startup in California called Intel Corporation. And his vision was fulfilled, and you fast forward to today, and Intel's motto has changed to something else, which I also recommend for your consideration. It's to connect, to create and extend computing technology to connect and enrich the lives of everyone on Earth. Our industry and the technology ecology has, as you have heard, reached somewhere less than half, about 3 billion people on the planet. But there are 7 billion people currently. And natural market forces will, as they drive the price of technology and computing and internet access down, will solve some of this problem, but not quickly enough to achieve the needs of the Millennium Development Goals or the upcoming Sustainable Development Goals. So we must form partnerships, learn how to do that better on a global basis in order to achieve by 2030, looking forward to what I think the Sustainable Development Goals will contain, affordable and fair access for everyone on the planet to computing technology and to the internet. Once that's achieved, it will bind us together as one human family in a way that has never been done before.
Thank you. So speaking of binding societies together by technology, Howard, you're currently Senior Vice President at Cisco, but you've been an innovator and a leader in making the internet happen through your work at 3Com and Cisco. Can you tell us your advice about how youth can leverage the internet to help create jobs and entrepreneurship?
So we are talking about the creation of value. Is this working?
Not,
You have to push
now you might be. Try again.
well, put it here. Push.
No. This one? No? Now it's working.
Now, try again.
Okay, I'm going to use this one because my friend is permitting me to participate. So we're talking about the creation of value, and the creation of value comes from innovative thinking, thinking about change, and it comes from focus. And so I'm going to take a different approach here. I have done this twice. I started 2 different companies that became very successful. And I'm going to tell you that the technology doesn't matter. We take it for granted. We take for granted the fact that you have technological competence in the areas that you are going to undertake. We just assume that. You have to become good at what you do. But let me tell you what you can never take for granted. You can never take for granted markets. Markets are the the definition of needs, unfulfilled needs. And what makes people motivated, what gives them passion, is to solve a problem, a big problem. I met a man who wanted to solve the problem of diabetes in Mexico. I met another man who wanted to solve the problem of illiteracy in Africa. See, a lot of people in Africa are not literate, so should they be disenfranchised from participating in the rest of the world? No. He said the way we have to reach these people is via audio. So the message here is that it's really not about the technology. What it's really about is the passion to want to change the world and to focus on what that might mean. And the technology becomes a tool. It becomes a hammer and nails and tractors and whatever other tools that you need to employ to change that world. And what skills do you need? Well, you need skills of how to run a business. Let me tell you folks, if you can't run a business, this is all useless because you have to take in money. Changing the world costs money. If you can't work with other people, I have a great respect. There was a young man I learned about last night who built a robot in, I think it was Iraq. He built one robot. That's a big deal, especially in Iraq. Now build 10,000 robots. But to build 10,000 robots, you can't do this alone. You need your friends. You have to convince them this is the right way to go. So we take the technology for granted. We do not take markets for granted, and we definitely don't take leadership skills for granted. So if you come away from this conference learning one thing, it's that markets and leadership matter a lot.
Excellent. Perfect. Now it's up to you. Can we get a few questions from the floor? Okay. You got a microphone? Good. Okay, right there in the back. And I'll come back to you here.
My name is Lemekani Mtongo from Zambia. My question concerns the aspect of us going in with a lot of energy in terms of developing technology. However, there is a particular aspect of the legal component in the policies. They've been mentioned, yes, but what is being done to give law and policy efficacy? What is being done to ensure that the legal aspect of it is adhered to? Of course, in every society there is crime, and what is being done to protect people? Are we paying a blind eye to that aspect, or are we actually doing something about it? Because much as we want to develop, we also have to consider the aspect of protecting the people. So how strong is the legal aspect? How strong is it from an international level? And how strong is it going to be from a local level? And it doesn't have to be toothless as well. It has to be either punitive, or it has to ensure that it deters people from committing crime. So I wonder what the ITU is doing about that, or if at all it is considering that aspect. Thank you so much.
Mr. Sanu, would you? The ITU is on the spot.
Yes, thank you very much for this question. I think that there are two aspects of it. First aspect is about what I will call physical security. And here we are talking about cyber security. And I'm sure that during this meeting, we're going to talk a lot about cyber security. This ITU have got a program to work on cyber security. They have got a program where we have got, as of today, 145 countries who have signed to work with us to make sure that we make the cyber space safe for the young people, for our children. And of course, as it was referred to this morning, the president of this country is a patron of the child online protection. And this country have done a lot in this area. So this is one aspect. The other aspect of the question is what do we do at the government level to put in place, as you said, the low part of the low part of the issue. On this side, as I mentioned when I started, in ITU, we have got a big program for capacity building for the regulators and the policy makers. This is where we are putting a lot of emphasis on the way and means to create and enable playing and enabling the playing field for all the people, including the young innovator, to find a way to use their innovation to live out of it without being in danger on the low part. So this is what I can say at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. Sanu. So I appreciate the work that ITU has done to enable governments to understand security and legal policies and frameworks. And I think that's absolutely required, especially when it comes to protecting children online. But I want to turn it over to Worley again. And, how do you see the internet and security and the infrastructure of today?
Well, I mean, I have a completely different view of that. I come from the hacking culture. I've been in trouble with many a government and had my passport taken at one point, things like that. So, no, I think that the question is really good. But the question, security takes one of two things, and if you have enough of them, any security can be broken, and that's time and resource. There is no such thing as something that's completely secure. But it's more important for the policymakers and for the people, in this room to understand the difference between something else, and that's reaction and response. Because one of those is voluntary and the other is not. And if we react to these potential threats, these hazards, these concerns, that's where things tend to go very askew and very far off course. They need a very measured, a very well thought through response that involves, to be honest, today, a lot more people and a lot more youth than are actually involved in any of those policy decisions.
Yep, I couldn't say that more myself. Please, Howard. Yeah, I think everybody on this panel has a lot to say about this topic.
Okay. Okay. If you rely on government to solve your problems, you will wait a long time. Government is a wonderful institution. We can't get along without it. But let me tell you, the solution is through education and technology. We need to teach people not to open emails where they do not know the recipient. It's that simple. Microsoft has been very good at this. We need to have technological solutions to protect children. We can look for certain patterns in data streams that characterize credit card numbers. We can look for patterns which characterize content which perhaps should not go to certain individuals. So, when the automobile was invented, many people died because we had not yet invented safety glass. And safety glass, or prior to the invention there too, used to kill many people. The glass would break in these long pieces of that looked like knives, and people would just die. And then we came up with this invention called safety glass, and people don't die anymore in collisions. We need that in cyberspace as well. We need technological solutions to prevent people from having access to the information they should not have, and then we have to teach people where they should not go. Now, regulation is great, but you'll notice that when we pass very strict laws preventing people from certain behaviors, there's always an element who breaks those laws. They don't care. So, the solution practically with respect to security is technological, and it is only really practically technological.
The ethics of information and communication.
Ethics, it's a good question, Mr. Ambassador. Ethics is very important. But you know where ethics comes from? It comes from your parents. They teach you what is right and what is wrong. It will not come from me telling you that's inappropriate behavior. Ethics is taught to children. So we need ethics in our access to information. And the rules that you use for that access should be taught to you by your parents.
I know what you're thinking. You don't want this session to end.
Randy.
And I actually don't either, because I would love to get some other input on this, because it's a great question. We're coming back at 5 o'clock. We're going to bring a lot of this discussion back to the stage, but you're going to have some more time to think about it, listen to other talks, and then come back with even more ideas, and we're going to be even more heated back at that point. We have one more question from the audience. I'd love to just turn it over to this gentleman. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is what you wanted on the panel.
I want it. I'm just, how much time do I have?
There are more than enough technological solutions to the security problem. The problem is not a technological problem. It is absolutely an ethics problem. It is an education problem, and it is a problem that right now, in cyberspace, if I attack you, there is nothing that happens to me. And in 1994, you can go Google a company called Symbiote that I participated in. They built a system of measuring risk. And what we did is we gave everybody a credit score. And if the community, through community-centric security, decided that you were a bad actor on the internet, they would remove you from that infrastructure. And every government in the world did not like that idea. So I just have to counterpoint and say, it's not a technological problem. We have more than enough technology.
Never getting
the problem is with
I
you.
know we're not done this. And if I get Microsoft started on this, it'll really go.
Just one more.
1
minute, yes.
This is new.
Actually, this is why in ITU we decided together with telecenter.org to make sure that the women are trained, because they are the ones who are going to give the ethics to the young people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. Sir, one more question from the audience. Is the microphone on?
Just yell it out.
Yeah, just go ahead and yell it out. I'll repeat it.
So, my name is Jose Miguel. I'm from Costa Rica.
Yeah, it's coming. Another one's coming right here. Tap. Good, there you go.
Mi nombre es José Miguel.
My name is Jose Miguel. I'm from Costa Rica, and mostly the idea comes from how can we foster the youth and the United Nations to actually help us do joint projects. For example, a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to participate in a scientific fair, and a 12-year-old came to me and asked me, one of these little balls that I had that lights up, can you create a engine to help his grandma to open a door, just to get computers where there is no electricity? The first thing you need, though, is electricity. It's power. How do we make power cheaper for these people, and how do we make it more accessible? And this has been developed for a while, and I'm thinking of solar panels, for example. How do we make solar panels cheaper so that these people will have the power even though they are in remote places, in rural areas? And one of the solutions I am proposing is providing all of these solar panels to public schools so kids can get used to it, they can use it, they can play with it, and they can start being creative with the use of those panels.
So I think you're safe on time, Randy.
Akhtar, would you like to respond at all, or?
I mean, I would actually just like to just echo another general thought. You guys should not wait. You guys can invent. You guys can create. You guys can solve issues that you think are important and need to be solved. So yes, there are legal issues. Yes, there are technological barriers. Yes, there are barriers to scale. But at the end of the day, change makers, to a large extent, don't look like me. They look like you. So believe in yourself and be the change maker that you want us to be. Thank you.
And Randy,
can I ask a question?
For somebody who works at Microsoft, we get along really well. I'm going to do what he did earlier and say, not only is that a great point, just remember, you have to actively choose, okay, to take the risk. That's it. That's all that stands between you. You have to actively choose to take the risk. You have to learn to accept the failure. And you have to remember that when you choose not to decide on doing one of those things, you still have made a choice. And inaction is your enemy.
Thank you. So I'm going to empower everybody with one last thought.
May I ask a question?
Who's
over here? Over here.
Ah. If we have the time, quick question.
Okay, it's a question for Mr. Charney. You were talking about ethics and how it's instructed by our parents. But to be honest, I think it's the whole system itself which instructs ethics which we haven't even decided for. And when you talk, the very example of this is when you talk about markets as the reflection of unsatisfied needs. That's your opinion, and you're imposing this on people, and you're creating the insatiability, which is the very cause of this consumer society and the whole capitalist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't go further, but it's just that
this is also about jobs, right?
Yeah,
I have
it
a
is.
job for you.
Yeah.
No, but please, it's the whole ethics system. You're talking about change and entrepreneurship and employment. The skills which we require aren't necessarily being a businessman and exploiting the very people in our company. It's change is volunteering for social and economic equality. It's not about satisfying wants which are created by the system itself. It's not desires. It's not needs. It's desires. And this whole propaganda you're talking about, it's not our parents. It's the whole system.
Okay. With that, I think we leave that as the food for thought, and that'll bring us back at 5 o'clock, and hopefully you and Howard can find each other in the hallway and have a TED-style networking discussion. It'll be fun. I want to listen in. One last thing I want to just impart with everybody. My father had one job. Over my lifetime, I'm going to have 7. From what we're seeing, each one of you may have 7 jobs at once, and that's okay. Enjoy.
Excuse me. I had one more question, please.
I'm turning it over to Melissa. I'm not a timekeeper, but we had fun. Thanks, everyone.
Can I say that?
Mr. Sanu, please.
Yes. I want to say last thing. Bear with me.
Oh, he had no tie on.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Boo. This is innovation.
All right, that is.
Yes, don't be afraid. Sometimes innovation is just doing the old things in the new way. So this is innovation. For next time.
Mr. Sanu, at 5 o'clock, you got to be in jeans. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Please give our panelists a final applause. Thank you so much. Well, it's been a very interesting morning, lots of challenges. They're encouraging us to take risks, to question, to propose, and actually the next part of the day is going to be a lot around that, those callings. We're gonna go through the activities for the following hours. At room Corcovado 1 in the ground floor, we'll start right now the BYND 2015 intergenerational debate. I'm asking please the mentors to go down now so you can be prepared when the participants arrive. This is going to be an inspirational dialogue between 10 mentors and 10 youth on how the youth are changing the world with ICTs. I invite you all to join those debates. The rest of the breakout rooms will continue with the Get Ahead workshops. I'm going to go through them. In case you're registered, go straight to the rooms that are designated for your workshop. In case you're not registered, then go and ask for flexibility and you can join then. The workshops will be run in 2 sessions of 2 hours, so you can go to 2 different workshops, with the exception of 2 of them that are going to be through the whole day, divided into 2. Excuse me, I please ask for some silence so I can finish explaining the workshops. Thank you very much. At Room TV Pro, we're going to have the Build My Digital Enterprise workshop organized by ITU and Zen Digital. This will be a 4-hour workshop running 2 parts and facilitated by Rob Fitzpatrick and Valerie Kinu. If you're interested in setting up your own business, and come join us this workshop and learn from the experts. Lots of what we've been talking about this morning. Also, the second workshop, Negotiate for Success, at Room Corcovado 2, also in the ground floor, organized by ITU and Zen Digital. You have 2 opportunities to take this workshop, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Join Mirna Hidalgo to learn about how to get results you want by using the right negotiating tactics. At Room Corcovado 3, also in the ground floor, United Nations volunteers will organize a workshop, Be a Volunteer, Be an Agent of Social Change. At this workshop, Bart Ticklin will be highlighting how you can empower by being a volunteer and how to run your own social business. This is going to be conducted in 2 parts as well. At Room Kawita 1 in the first floor, Jason Conan and Cheryl Miller will be sharing their experience in Realize Your Creative Independence Online. You have 2 opportunities as well to take this workshop, organized by ITU and Zen Digital. And at Room Kawita 2, the Omar Dengo Foundation will be organizing the workshop, Strengthening Your Entrepreneur Skills. Join this event to find the areas you need to strengthen their profile and to better access the labor market. You have as well 2 opportunities to take this workshop, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And finally, the ideation meeting at the Room Gondola with the participants of the Beyond 2015. It's going to be, we're going to have the 24-hour hackathon, and we're going to have the first ideation meeting then. This is a very interesting activity. We're all encouraging for you to join and to learn more about it in case you want to be investing your next 24 hours on the hackathon. Please note that you need either technical or creative skills to join this competition, and a commitment for the competition and to stay there for the next 24 hours. Prizes will be awarded for this as well. We'll be all learning from the different competitors and the awards later in the summit. For those interested, please go to Room Gondola for more information. Meanwhile, our summit will also be connected to a new edition of the Coffee and Ann Dialogue. If you're interested, you can join that discussion at the TV studio by Salon Tobosi. Please, also, I want to invite you to be very active and to participate and really take advantage of all of these workshops and all of these experts that are sharing our knowledge, and all of these participants from all over the world to also learn from their perspectives. And as well, we want to remind you to leave your interpretation devices at the door so we can have them for the next session. And final announcement, we'll be back here at the Chiripo plenary at 2 p.m. Have a great time, and we hope you enjoy. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And also, do you know how long I should wait? Hey guys, we're going to be talking about startups and building something and making it happen in here. So if you're sticking around for that workshop, just pile in toward the front because this is a gigantic room and we definitely don't need all of it. Oh, yeah, cool. I'm good to go.
Sorry, do you have the list of participants for this workshop?
Sí, hay que hacer es cambiar la resolución.
Yeah, I think you signed up for this workshop. I didn't find that my was signed up for this workshop.
Chris.
Ok, los dos. Más que lo que
Anyone else here for startups, digital enterprise? If so, just bring it up here. I'm going to be talking without the mic, so if you're in the back of the room, you're not going to hear me very much. All right. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome. Oh, that thing will sort itself out. I'm not too fussed about it. Do you guys, does everyone speak English, or do I need to slowly go to a translator? Everyone's pretty okay? Okay. What? Okay. Okay. Just.
Hey.
Oh, I need the mic. Can I get a mobile mic so I can walk around? Okay. Cool. So this should be fun, I think. My experience. Great, thanks. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, that's better. So we get an idea from somewhere, right? And we get all excited about it. We want to do something with it. Can I get my screen? No. So, yeah, we'll deal with it. So, we're going to be talking about startups, which I think are pretty cool and interesting. And startups can have a lot of different functions. You can build a little company which just makes enough money to kind of set you free, right? Like you can set something up and set it on automatic, and its whole job is to make you enough money so that you can do other things with the rest of your life. This is what business is for a lot of people. They care about something. They want to get something done, but there's that pesky thing of we need enough money to live. So they go into business and they start just to take care of that. And then they'll do whatever. Maybe they'll start another company. Maybe they'll devote the time to changing the world or just hanging out, go on permanent vacation. That's one way that people use businesses. Another way is to just go as big as possible, right? To create the infrastructure, to create the empires, to create the companies that we all take for granted now. They're just everywhere. They're part of the plumbing that we use for life. And that's great as well. And there's this new category of social enterprises, which is that people have said businesses seem to work pretty well. Is there a way that instead of getting businesses to spit out more and more money, we can get them to spit out more and more like positive social impact? All of these are completely valid, and we're going to dig into kind of what makes them tick. Because the biggest thing that's changed over the last, say, 10 or 15 years is that we've started to figure out how to actually make innovative businesses. A ways back, it was kind of a gamble. You would try something, and there were a few people who seemed to be able to do it, and everyone else was they were looking at the successes and thinking, I want to do that, right? But we didn't really have a path. And it was quite scary on a personal level, because if it didn't work out, you'd risked a lot to try to make it happen. You might end up, and you could be in debt, you could be totally wiped out, and then you have to go and spend all of your time just to pay off your bills. And that stops you from being able to start a new company to actually do the thing you want to do, right? So that's no good. So we want to be able to have this safety where we can be innovative and we can try new and disruptive and huge new things, but also in a way that we're personally safe. Because if we go broke, we can't do it anymore, right? We can't create any sort of change in the world if we can't pay our rent. So does my screen just not work? All right. So we're going to do a lot of talking as little groups. So if you're sitting at a table with fewer than 4 people, would you just kind of merge with one of the other tables and maybe spread out so that we have at least, say, 4, 5, 6 people at each table? We'll just do a little shuffle now. Yeah, just move somewhere so that we have at least 4 people at each table. It makes for more interesting conversations, So just take a minute and kind of amongst yourselves, and we'll call out a few of these answers once we have them, but starting a business is not easy, right? Even if it's not a business, starting a movement, getting a ton of volunteers, organizing something to happen, this is not easy. So like, why bother? Like, what like motivates you, right? Like, why would you want to go through all of this work and all of this energy and suffering to make this thing that may or may not work? So we'll take kind of like 2 minutes and just talk, like get a sense for everyone at the table. What are their reasons? What are their motivations? Why would they want to try this? Go for it. It's just, why is a business worth starting? It's difficult. Like, why would you bother?
Because I think that every big business started with a little idea.
All right, every big business starts with a little idea. Completely agree. So even like, you don't need to start with a huge project, right? You can start with something that seems small and simple. So that's perfect. And just kind of as within your tables, let's just spend a couple minutes and talk through some of the other reasons that are motivating you. Why are people doing this? Yes, you're allowed to talk. Yeah, just talk. Like, why would you bother starting a company? You know, just talk to each other. Like, find out, try to understand why the people at your table are motivated. So initially when it was up there, it was on 1024 by 768 at 60 hertz. Okay, so the motivation here was that you get to work with people you like and kind of do something you care about. Was that roughly right? Yeah, okay, awesome motivation. Who else has one that's come up from their table? Okay.
Like, you know, being sick of hierarchies, how the way people do things. Yeah, well, the way people, when you're sick of the way people do things, that it's not useful anymore. And when you're sick of hierarchies, like, you know, it's not working, but they still do it in the same way. That's.
My motivation was, for example, to improve something in a special area or category where I am interested in and what is my passion. Just that this area is gets improved. So this is why I am starting a new company.
Well, I think the reality of the matter is that most people who start companies are doing this. It's a personal matter. They're probably trying to fulfill something. They're trying to fulfill something that they wanted to do maybe in their life, and then maybe, hopefully, they'd come to the idea that they'd want to give a bit of their money, which they earned, for charity. But it's true, though, that most companies you see today have been built on people's ideas, which were mainly for their own interests. And that's what I think would be the motives for many people to start their own companies.
I feel that one of the reasons to start a company would be also deciding your own work environment, like avoiding certain aspects of tedious normal working life, and like being more dynamic, or deciding where you want to work. Like, oh, if I have my own company, I can go to the beach and maybe work there with my friends or teammates, and you don't have to worry much about bosses or well, you make your own set of rules and the way you want the company to go forward with, like, everybody being happier.
Hi. Also, you get to have bragging rights, and so now it's easier than in the past, and so that's a good thing, I think.
Hi. I think a lot of companies that you see are somebody else's dream, and so you want to sort of start your own dream instead of helping to build somebody else's dream, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. So we've had a pretty good range so far. I think you guys have kind of covered most of the spots. So there's you might want to change the world. You might want to create something. You might prefer the working environment. You want to work with your friends. You want to work under your own rules. You want to work on something that you choose. You might just want to build something big. You might have, like, you want the bragging rights. That's a real thing, right? You want to be the person who builds this company. Are there any others? Did anyone have a different take? Yeah.
Well, I want to have my own company, not just for me. I want to give work for others. Actually, I have dreamed like how it's going to be my company, how it's going to be, like it will have a school for the people who work for me, well, who is working there, for the kids to be there too, and to bring other kids that don't have opportunity to learn. So the people who is going to be there have to be cheered, have to be collaborative, have to feel what is to help other people that can be unable to have those opportunities they're having. So I think what I like my company for is not just for me, it's for others to be able to have better opportunities that they're having now. So that's what I think, what I want to have at my own company. Not for me, for others, to give them opportunities they don't have.
Cool. Yeah, that's huge. Some people are kind of, can you pass the mic over that direction? Some people are motivated for any number of different reasons, and some people really focus on the employees and the company themselves, or itself. This seemed to be what motivated Tony from Zappos. He was very focused. He wanted to make the best place in the world for his employees to be working. It was like focused on that family. But yeah.
Hi. Well, I'm encouraged to get my own business started because,
Louder.
of course, with this whole theme, we would want to get ahead, of course. The money, we also would like to elaborate on this young lady's comment to charity, to give to others. If you're purchasing something from an online platform or something like that, could get donations for other young people and whatnot.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Boubacar Mboub. Je parle français.
My name is Boubacar Mboub and I speak French. I come from Senegal and I am creating my own company with my own team, and I am the leader of this team. We have created many applications so that we don't have to depend on society or on the government. We create applications that have social implications. We can provide a lot of opportunities to the whole world. Thank you very much. I participate in a company of entrepreneurs. I'm from El Salvador. there in this region, technology is not highly developed as far as mobile phones, smartphones, tablets, etc. So we are acting as evangelists because it's not highly developed. We need to prove society that we need to show companies that they can be more effective in applying all of their technology into mobile phones, taking their products to the people to solve their mobile needs. And our social involvement and help is to provide the students of the Francisco Gavidio University the opportunities for learning, because in this country there aren't many schools that teach about technology. So what we do is we try to help the students.
Universidad Francisco Gavidia.
In this university, there's a lack of educational, technological education in their schools leading up to the university. So they're trying to bridge that gap for their university students at this university here in El Salvador.
Pues,
we started 3 years ago. I started as a collaborator in this company. And at this university, there's like a training school for entrepreneurs. So we started working, trying to help people. We are developing, on one hand, applications, apps for companies, but we're also educating or training some of our colleagues from the university so that they may learn how to develop new technologies. We have developed apps that have been used nationwide, and we are trying to focus this help so that technology may increase in our country. So, my plan is to endorse that you may create your own companies. We have received help from our government because of our technological inventions. And if you notice, I'm young. And most of the people in my company were all young. Our ages are 20, 21, 25 years of age tops. And we've already done a lot of business in our country. And that's our commitment. I want to spread my message. I want to communicate my message to other people. I want you to set up your own businesses, and I want you to keep on the cutting edge of technology. Thank you.
Live translation. Cool. Yeah, clap it up for everyone. Those are all awesome motivations. Thank you, thank you. And I think it's important to remember why we want to start a business or why we want to start anything, because it's hard. How many of you guys have tried starting something up before? How many of you thought it was easy? Yeah. Like, if so, I want to know the secret. It's tough, right? So it needs to be something that you want to do, that you want to go after. And the ideas can come from a load of different places, right? We might see a problem in the world, or we have a stroke of insight, and we're suddenly like, I'm a genius, I had such a good idea, I just have to do it. We might see an opportunity to make money. We might see a big chance to make a huge social change. All of these are completely valid. But But when we look at where we're trying to go, it can be difficult to do it all at once. We see the prize, we see where we're trying to get to, but we don't necessarily have everything we need from the very beginning. We don't have all the money, we don't have the support, we don't have the team. So if we try to jump straight to the end, we end up falling in the pit, you know? And what modern startups are beginning to show us is that the best entrepreneurs are finding these stepping stones, and sometimes they're hidden. They're not always obvious. And they're finding ways, they have this big world-changing vision, but like you said, it can, like the first step looks tiny. You know, the first step, it's like, well, that's nothing. You know, but if you want to start a big global movement to help kids learn to read, the first step is to teach a kid to read, right? Now you're in business, you've started. And the scale comes later. And now that you're moving, other people find it much easier to believe in you, to support you, to help you out. And everyone's stepping stones are different. This is both the hardest and the most interesting piece, because no one else can tell you exactly what to do. You know your own business, and you know your strengths, and you know your goals better than anyone else. So you can certainly learn. There are amazing lessons, there's amazing tools that are out there, but you can't just blindly follow other people's advice. You always have to make it your own. And there's a ton of different types of companies and types of organizations that you can build to achieve those goals. You can go out by yourself and sell your services as a freelancer. That's great because it's like the quickest and most reliable way to get out of a job and into independence. But it doesn't scale very far. You can get a few friends together and have an agency. Now it's amazing. You won't believe how easy it is to make physical products now. It used to take a manufacturing plant and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now it's easy. You can sell a product tomorrow. You know, you can think of it today and have it for sale tomorrow on Kickstarter. It's unbelievable. And different types of businesses take different shapes. The kind of big difference I want to point out is the green and the purple ones, they quickly make money, but they flatten out. If I become a freelancer, I can start making money immediately. I can survive, but it only gets so big, right? The reason why technology is so exciting is that if we can lay the foundations properly, then it can reach the whole world. But laying the foundations is the tricky bit, because when we're building our technology, when we're figuring out what people need, during that period, we're spending money, you know? And it takes more time and it takes more money than we would initially guess. That's why they're so hard. And we can't project exactly where we're going. Part of the funny bit of, not funny, but if you look at the history of startups, around 2000, there were a ton of companies that had loads of money. This is my favorite. This is the mascot of pets.com. It was an online store for pet food. And I'm simplifying the story a little bit, but can anyone guess how much money they spent to build their store for pet food? Just shout out a number. 0. I wish, no, they sadly did not spend 0. No, it's, okay, it has, gosh, I don't even know how many zeros that is, 8 zeros? They spent $300 million to build their business, and it didn't work, which is a shame, because if you're going to spend $300 million, you may as well build a working business. And essentially what the attitude back then was, they would stand here at the beginning of their business, at the beginning of their mission, and they would look at this scary dip where they were going to be spending time and losing money, and they would say, okay, well, we just need to be brave. We just need to like really commit and grit our teeth and go for it and push through. And so they would come up with a great plan, and they would go for it, right? And these were not dumb people. These were excellent business people. They were excellent technical people. But you can only see so far from the starting line. So what we're seeing more and more, it's these stepping stones, right? You only have to see to the next stepping stone. You have to know where you're going, but you only need an exact plan for right here. So we can do something that seems very small at the beginning and ends up becoming huge. That's the magic of technology. And a lot of you guys already have started businesses. So I just want to chat again in your kind of little groups. Like, why, if you haven't started a business yet, why not? If you're interested in doing it, but you haven't, like, what's stopping you? Is it that you don't feel you know enough? You don't feel you have access to the resources? You're not sure where to begin? No one gave you permission? I don't know, like, what is it? So just talk, try to get a sense, and write down a list for just the people at your table. Like, what has stopped them from starting a business? And we've got some paper and some pens kind of floating around, so if your table doesn't have any, I'm sure you can grab some. We'll just take 2 minutes. Try to understand, why does everyone at your table, like, what's stopping them? Yeah, just what's stopping you? What do you think, like, why haven't you started a business yet? All right, if you came in late and you're sitting at a table by yourself, you might want to join someone else's table, because all of these group discussions will get quite lonely if you're talking to yourself. All right, we're going to bring the microphone around, and just kind of one person per group, if you would just tell us what some of the big reasons were that came up at your table for what's holding people back. And these are all great things that we can hopefully change at some point. So yeah, why don't you guys start us off?
Hello guys.
And would you stand, please?
Okay, sorry. My name is Melchizedek. I'm from Botswana. So what we heard from our group is that you find that most of the people don't have finances. You have an idea, but you can't finance your idea. You also don't have time. You have your idea, but you're trying to make time for that idea. You have to go to school and you don't have enough time. There are also regulations in other countries, like one of our friends here said he tried to implement something in a different country, but then the regulations of that country did not allow him actually to implement that idea he had. You might not know how to the starting process. How do you start about making a business? Who do you check? What do you write? What letters do you have to deal with? So that is also a problem. Yeah, I think that is all. But I've summarized all of them. Thank you.
All right, awesome, thank you. how about you guys?
Well, we also struggle with the time and the money issue, like everyone else. There was an experience here where they felt like maybe it was because they were young within their own company, that the company was looking towards the senior employees for ideas and not interested in hearing the innovative ideas of their maybe entry-level employees. So even though the government was kind of out of the way, the company itself kept itself from expanding in that way. And also, a few of us were thinking maybe we just didn't know exactly how to implement the technology or the resources, get the manpower behind you to support you for that idea.
Cool. Do you want to just, pass it to anywhere? Thanks.
Okay, in our table, some of us think that the age is one of the barriers that they cannot start their own businesses, and some of them is finding the right skill with the right people to create a team and then start their own business, as well as lack of motivation. Some of them, they have the idea, but they are not motivated enough to go ahead and start their own business, as well as difficulty in getting loan on a small money, a capital to start your own business as well.
Cool, great, thank you. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Those guys have a mic first. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Nosotros como grupo pensamos que lo que más pasa es que a las personas les da miedo porque muchas veces no.
We think that people are often scared because they haven't been properly educated with regards to social finances, because they haven't been taught from an early age. But there's also inequality because often women are discriminated in this regards. And also we believe that the lack of resources or funds can be involved.
I believe one of the main constraints for creating an organization is just the lack of time, as she mentioned. I think that most people who are trying to start an organization tend to be pretty young, like we all are, and some of them even as young as in their freshman year when they're at university. And that's a big problem because they don't really have a lot of time on their hands to start a company, especially when they want to create something as ambitious as maybe a company which sells toys, for example. And it takes a lot of effort and a lot of motivation, especially. You have to be really passionate about it to create an organization like that when you have such little time. It really depends on whether you're really into fulfilling your desire to create this, and whether you're prepared to sacrifice a lot of time to make this happen.
Yeah, so with our group, it's basically the same as everybody else's, like with the financial setbacks for capital, startup capital, and as well as regulations, as in certain things keep us back. Yeah, that's basically it.
Cool.
Yeah, basically, we also found that the main reason would be time being lacking, especially if you're studying and you don't want to rely on dropping out on trying something new and failing, and just maybe having problems with financing and finding reliable people to work with.
Cool. Let's do one more table, and then I know not everyone's gone, but we'll do. We'll do the two more that still have the microphone, and then we'll move on. Take it away.
Okay, as the other group said, I believe that one common factor among all of us is that we're young, right? And being young, it's has the consequence of having. It's harder to get finance opportunities for young people because most of us, we don't have the financial backup in case we don't have success. So being afraid of failure, it's another setback to start your own business, right?
I think you have to be
Si le piden que encienda el micrófono a la muchacha, no la estoy escuchando.
Okay. So I think it's basically, I don't know, when you meet now, like, teachers. Okay, now? Yeah. Okay. I don't know, I'm in college, so I have like those teachers that are young too, and you see that they are having their own company, but how they make it, they have like the context, they can make it on their own. So what do you think? I'm trying to make projects too, but we don't have that, all the skills, all the knowledge they have about taking call and initiative, I don't know, how to call, when to call, how to get the budget they need, because it's not easy, and here in Costa Rica it's really, really difficult to get money to start you, like young people, their own company, but because what you have to give them if you're studying. So I think basically a good thing those teachers had said to me is like you basically have to have those contacts, those people, not just in your career, in other careers, because you all together can make like that idea you have possible. So I think like that is really a good characteristic about to have a company.
Yeah, perfect. Those are excellent. Those are great. And there's some that are like hard to deal with. If you're in a country where the immigration laws are such that you can't bring in the employees you want, or the tax laws are such that it's really difficult for you to start your own business, then that's hard. But most of the others, we can solve ourselves. It's like came up in the previous session, right? If you need to wait for it to be fixed by someone else, you're going to wait for a long time. It's way better to be able to do it yourself. And thankfully, most of these things we can solve ourselves. So one of them is money. The best solution to money is like to not need it. And that sounds silly, but I'm serious, because like, so I've started a few companies now, and I know a bunch of investors, and I hang out with them, and we drink beers, and we drink coffee together. But they would never fund a company of mine when it was still an idea in my head. Like, that would be crazy, right? Because it's so easy to take it to the next level. It's so easy to get to the first stepping stone without money. You know, you don't have to go all the way without money. You just have to get started. Like, once you've started, suddenly everyone wants to help you. Once you make it to the first or second of those stepping stones, then it becomes possible. But do not wait to get started for someone else to like magically hand you a bag full of money, because it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for me. It's not going to happen for you. It doesn't happen for anyone. Some people, well, I should say, some people get freakishly lucky, and it does happen. So don't let that distract you, because chances are good it's not going to happen to you. So it's better to be like, what can I do with the resources I have? But something else that comes out of this is important, right? Like, how do you start if you don't know the right people? How do you start if you don't have anyone on your team who knows how to program? That's a real problem, right? What's the solution? It's like, start meeting those people. You know, there's a company I love, and it's such a dumb idea. A lot of my favorite companies are really stupid ideas. And this company never should have worked. You know blogs, right? So how much does a blog cost to put up? Yeah, it's free, right? Blogs are free. That's just part of the internet. You get a blog if you want it. It's free. Have one. This company's idea was they were going to charge you $200 a month for a blog, which is just the dumbest idea ever, right? Let's take something free and charge people $200 a month for it. But the guy who started it, he was really well respected, and there were 50,000 bloggers and entrepreneurs and programmers who subscribed to his newsletter, where he talked about software and how to make a good website and how to do all this stuff. So when he said, hey, it's going to be better, it's worth the money, they trusted him, and they all bought it. And it was a multi-million-dollar business in its first year. It's called WP Engine. And people complained. He was like, see, I just showed you how easy it is. And they're like, yeah, but that's not fair. You have 50,000 subscribers and I don't. And he said, yeah, but that's why I've been telling you to like start being visible for years. You know, you don't like suddenly trip and you're like, oh, wow, now I'm famous. Well, that's good. It's like, oh, now everyone wants to work with me. Terrific. It's like that's something that gets built up over time, right? You do something, you help somebody out, you get to know somebody. This is such an amazing place for it. They say they're the two most precious resources for a startup founder. One is the founder's time and attention. You know, because you can only, time was brought up a lot, right? We only have so much of it. And the other one is good people who will work with you. It's hard to find them. If there's anyone here, someone stands up and talks, and you're like, ooh, that person's smart. Like, track them down later, right? Maybe they're your future co-founder. You really got to, like, start building it today, because that's how you get the stuff you need for tomorrow. And university's awesome. Professors are so connected, and they want to help you out. Take advantage of all these resources, right? Start now before you start the company. It makes life way, way easier. So I want to do Microsoft's here, so we're going to do a little thought experiment and try to put Microsoft out of business. So Microsoft has a pretty good word processor, right? Word is definitely winning. It would be crazy for us with no money to compete with Word. So I want you guys to figure out how you would do that. In your teams, come up with a way that you guys as a team with no money would build a successful business competing with Microsoft Word. Okay, you've got 5 minutes. 1 minute left. Don't get stuck on one idea. Just get a lot out. You have to have something written down by the end of this. If it's just in your head, it doesn't count. You have to write down what's your plan, what's your idea. All right, who's got a plan? Who's got a plan of attack here? Let's hear one. All right, can we get do we have the mics still floating around? No mics? Oh, you're about to get all the mics. Okay. What's your 5-minute plan to compete with Microsoft Word?
Okay, so first we looked at a popular word processing program called OpenOffice and LibreOffice, which are free to use. They're open source, and they offer practically the same tools as Microsoft Word. They've become pretty popular because LibreOffice comes with Ubuntu. For many of you who use the operating system, we thought that if we were to compete with Microsoft Word, which has a lot of people using it, we thought that maybe we should make our word processing app more intuitive, because truth of the matter is, when someone opens Microsoft Word, then it's a bit hard to pick up like that. So we thought that making our program more intuitive would attract more people at first sight.
Cool. That's an awesome approach to competing with a big competitor, right? Instead of adding features, you get rid of features. You don't compete with them by making it more complicated, you compete with them by making it simpler. And that also makes it easier for you to build. So great.
I guess if you want maybe to compete with Microsoft about Word, you cannot compete with 20 years of innovation and software development. But for example, that she said about the LibreOffice or OpenOffice software, you can, for example, start with little steps like the stones, like you said, about why you get a team of volunteers to schools and say, I want to teach you all LibreOffice or OpenOffice. I'm going to show you that this software is free and maybe it's better because you can know it. You can know how to use it, you can know how to be productive with the software. So it's a great challenge that, okay, this is Word and that is the better. No, this is the other, and I can teach you how to use it. I can teach you how to use it, then you can, despite the difference, and start to compete because, well, it's different to compete against the company. You need to compete or ally it with other companies.
Cool. That's another awesome way of competing with a big company, right? You can afford to offer incredible customer service, whereas they're too big to be able to do that. So you can go in and you can individually talk to your users. You can make them feel loved and cared for. You can start the ball rolling. You can make sure they tell all their friends that they had the most incredible experience with your company. So yeah, that's a great approach. Let's take one more, yeah, in the back, and then we'll come back to you.
So conceptually, how we approached this was we just asked ourselves, what does Microsoft Word do really well? And we kind of agreed that it's really good at doing complex formatting. Like you guys mentioned, it's very complicated. It's really good at short to medium length text formats. Though when you get to really longer ones, if anyone's ever written like a 100-page document, it's really funky. It's really good if just one person writing it, and it's at a premium price. So we kind of delineated that, all of those features, and then said that's not what we want to do. And so we kind of, continuing from that, we thought, well, maybe one would be to create a program or an app that's better at writing really long stuff, or better at writing really short stuff, that would be more intuitive. easier to use, that's better at collaboration, at collaborating, and at a better price. But essentially, it's just you try to think of what are they doing really well, and then let's avoid that, and let's try to do some other things that where they're falling short.
Cool. That's another amazing approach. That's basically saying the big competitors, they have to be generic, kind of by definition, right? Because they serve everybody. So that means if you go really specific, you can serve a certain type of person better than the big competitor, and you can make their lives amazing. This is the word processor I use for books, and it's awful. It's so bad. It's so confusing, but I love it, and I paid for it because it's like totally designed for books. You know, and Word is bad at books, like exactly as you say, right? And there's a million other things that these big competitors, they're always bad at something. So you can say, I'm going to take just that type of person, and I'm going to focus on exactly what they need, and they'll put up with a pretty buggy product for a long time. So that means your version 1 doesn't even need to be perfect, which makes it a lot easier for you as a startup. So yeah, that's another great approach. How about, there was one more waiting over here, and okay, cool. We'll take those two, and then we'll charge forward.
Oh, we were basically on the same side as the people with the book, thinking of, well, you're not gonna try and target Microsoft on a generic side. You need to go specific and set your goals on things you know they can't do, and there's people who need it, like say, in the scientific side, people use text and lex to format formulas. You could do it easier, making a custom processor that's like Word in the sense of ease of use, but you can use faster for your need and does it better. And you can always change the side, like if you're basing your software on a open source version, like you don't have to create something from scratch. You take something that's open source, modify it to your needs, and then you can say, well, it was open source, take it. I'm just gonna charge for the service of teaching and support.
Cool. And lastly, yeah, what do you guys have?
Well, we have here another idea with my friend Lameka from Zambia to collaborate for this idea. Word is built for business, so when you get started, if you never has used it, you will maybe don't know how to start. So what happens if you are a child and you open Microsoft Word? What happens? What can I do? I don't know. So if when the child open the program, it will be nice that a single message, hi, what are you going to do? And be step by step giving a guide. For example, I want to do my homework. Okay, are you going to use image? Yes, I want to use it. Here are the steps to do your homework using image. So let's see, yeah, you will complete your homework in that way. Yeah.
So, combining his idea, we understand that. Oh, sorry, by the way, my name is Lemekani Mtonga from Zambia. Combining his idea, we understand that there is also an aspect of learning that is so attached to visual. What you see, you're likely not to forget. You'd read through the menu for Microsoft Word, and you'd forget. But if we use simulation and animation to teach what the app will do, the new application for Microsoft Word, it'll become more user-friendly. And like he said, we're going to use Word to target not only adults that can use Word, but even the people even the most basic people that can have access to Microsoft Word. It being even the lowest grades in schools. So if we have all those people using Microsoft Word, we have a bigger market and more income. Thank you.
Cool. Nice. Those are pretty reasonable approaches, right? And those wouldn't take a ton of money to do, especially the ones that are they're very simple, they're very focused. Man, if you could make a word processor that helped kids learn to read a little better or help them to write a little better, parents wouldn't care how often it crashed. They would love that, right? Teachers would recommend it to everybody so you wouldn't have to spend money on expensive promotion. Like, these are all things that would make your life easier. You would still need somebody on your team who's a pretty good programmer, and you would need some pretty good designers to really make it simple. But that's something, these skills exist in the world now. You can find these people, you can become that person. So, yeah, I love it. You don't compete by going bigger, right? You don't compete by adding more features. You compete by saying, like, I'm small, and that gives me the luxury of I can choose something really specific and focused to work on, and I can get there quickly. And depending on who you choose, like, you might say, like, oh, well, I really need to pay the bills. You know, I don't have a job. So you would focus on a specific group who can also pay you. If that's not a concern, then you could focus on the one that'll reach the most people, maybe. You know, all of these options are in play. But once we get started, it's important to realize that our plan as we imagine it at the very beginning isn't going to be totally right. I gave you guys 5 minutes to come up with a business. They were pretty good. If I'd given you 5 hours, they wouldn't have been any better. If you had 5 weeks, they would probably get worse. Like, most of the learning that we get, it comes from, okay, like, we get the start of an idea, but then what really needs to happen is, like, you have to test it against the market, right? You have to, is it going to help kids learn to read? Well, we'd better get some kids using it. Do moms want that? We'd better talk to them. You know, it's got to get out there into the market. There's only so much we can do sitting around a table. So we really focus, like, when it's been an awesome week, it's because I've learned a lot about my business. I'm like, ooh, that doesn't work, but this has potential. And then I know how to spend the next week better. Because as so many of us said, we only have so much time, right? So you don't want to block off a year and say, I'm going to take this year and build my business. You want to be like, okay, this is what matters this week and this week and this week. It's these smaller chunks. And then you can adjust a bit more. One of the other things, I noticed at a couple of the tables, how many of you guys basically spent all of your time working on the first idea that came up? Did anyone? No? Okay, great. Because the first idea is usually not the best idea, but we tend to like our first idea. And if you look at the way other professions work, especially craftspeople, they come up with thousands of possibilities before they commit to one. This is a picture of Frank Gehry's workshop, and he's just designing a chair, and he's a great designer. I'm sure his first design would have been pretty good, but he wants to know what's possible. We should do the same thing with our ideas. Your ideas get way better if you come up with lots of them. So if I have 5 minutes, if I have an hour, I'd rather spend the hour to come up with 12 ideas than spend the hour like really polishing one, right? Get more possibility, then kill off the bad ones. There's lots of different ways to do this. Like, we're not going to go into detail, but this is how you prototype a chair. This is how you prototype a website. You can even take this to people and you can say, like, how would you use this? And have them play with it with their fingers as if it was a touch screen. It feels silly, but it works. And they're like, wait, but how do I close it? And you're like, oh yeah, I forgot the close button. And you can actually make your product better before you've written any code. This was the very first product I built at my first company. It was meant to be, it was the coded version of this. So that was the mock-up, and that was the product. And it was meant to be an online way to make animations and cartoons. We wanted to compete with Adobe. Adobe Flash, basically, it was the leading animator. It's big, expensive software. We wanted to put it on the web. We wanted to make it free. But we made a big mistake, and we just kept adding more features. This thing was so confusing. And we spent almost a year on it, and we never even launched it, because at some point we launched this really simple animation toy. We said, okay, we have this ambition. We're going to make a big, sophisticated software. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be amazing. But in the meantime, let's just throw this up. We're just going to put this on the web. It took 4 hours to build. You could basically, you could grab this character and you could drag him around, and however you moved him was recorded, and it would play back the same way. It was a total toy. We had no idea, no grand ambitions for a business. We're just, let's put something out there that people can play with. And immediately Sony and Disney and MTV and all of these guys started calling me and they were saying, hey, we saw your animation thing, can we license it? And I was like, wow, we have a business. And it was a total accident. And so based on that success with clients, we were able to go and raise funding from investors. And that kind of got us started. And we never in a million years would have come up with this idea, right? It was silly, it was crazy. But because we'd put something out into the world, we'd said like, hey, here we are. Like, who else cares about this space? And we were able to get into a conversation with our customers instead of just sitting around a table talking to ourselves. They did some research recently. Do you know what the biggest thing that kills innovative products is? The biggest thing that kills startups? Venture capitalist. No, so running out of money is bad. Having too much money you don't know what to do with is also bad, yes. But that's not the number one killer. Yeah. Belief in yourself, not having enough or having too much? Yeah, okay, not having enough belief in yourself, so you just sort of give up. That's usually not the problem that entrepreneurs have. But yeah, some people certainly do walk away from good ideas because, yeah, it gets hard, they want to do other things. What? Laziness. No, that's not it either. And it's not co-founders fighting with each other. Too much time on the idea definitely hurts you. Yeah, all of those months are kind of wasted. You know, there's this saying that you haven't started working on the business until you've launched it. You know, you got to get it out there. It really matters. But no, the biggest killer of small companies, of innovative companies, is that they try to act like big companies. So when they're still little, they start spending lots of money. It could be two guys in a living room, or like a couple people who are still in university who are spending no money, but instead they start printing business cards and they get an office and they hire an intern and they get a salesperson, and suddenly they're spending all this money and they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to go broke in 3 months. Until you start acting like a big company, you're basically immortal. Like, your company cannot fail as long as you're a student because you're not losing money, right? You have all the time in the world to work on it. So you can play with lots of crazy ideas as long as you stay small. As soon as you start acting big, then things get difficult. Your company's suddenly in danger. And at some point, obviously, it needs to grow up. You can't stay small forever. So what we're looking for is we want to stay small until we've got the core. We found something that people really love. You know, it's like, it doesn't have to be big. It's crazy how small these things start. But like, you know, someone really loves it, right? You're serving this type of user better than anyone else. And you can take that love and start to expand it out. And we can also find clever ways of testing whether different pieces of the business are going to work. I'm going to give you an idea, and I want you guys to basically pretend you're the CEO, you're the founder, and you're deciding how to figure out if this idea is going to work. Okay? So I had a friend, he's a graffiti artist, he's a street artist, and he wanted to build a community website which all the graffiti artists would go around and they would take pictures of their work around the city. And it would appear on the website, so it's like Instagram, but it has all the locations around the city where their work is. And so they can show off their portfolio, and they can also get hired, because sometimes people want to hire these artists to do work for them. And that was how the business is going to make money. So you get all the graffiti artists, they put up all the pictures of their work, they say this is where it is, and then people can hire them. It basically makes sense. These artists do get hired, so you know that this transaction happens. There is money in the market. It's big, it's part of the advertising industry. But we have no idea if it's going to work or not, right? Now it's just an idea. So in your groups, how would you start figuring out if this idea was going to work? And remember, you don't have money. How could you figure out if the idea is going to work this weekend? All right, take 5 minutes, see what you can come up with. And again, if you're sitting by yourself, feel free to join in with a larger group. So the idea, one more time, is you've got a bunch of graffiti artists and they're building portfolios. So they're saying, this is all of my art as a street artist. This is where it is in the city, this is how you can find it, here are nice pictures of it, and then people can hire them. Just about a minute and a half left. Remember, how do you figure out if this is a good idea? You want to find a way to test it. You want to find a way to figure out if it's going to work. Thirty seconds. All right, guys. What do we come up with? Is anyone happy about their plan of attack? You feel like you got a good way to start? Oh, nice.
Okay, so as long as we don't have money, we thought about setting up a free website, one of the free hosts. So we are ready to go, and then we're going to upload the profile of all the artists over there. And then through finding the right connection and then the website. So we would like to know how is the demand. Is this country is compatible or this region compatible with this model? And then going to the companies, we are only going to spend time in it, not money. So we're going to go to the companies if they are interested in this one, like promoting the idea tourism, and then with the finding the target market, we can launch the website, and this is going to be a successful business.
Brilliant, thank you. Clap. I think just hold on to it. I think I like clapping. Cool.
Hi, my name is Beatrice. I'm from Romania. Me and my colleague here were coming up with probably a similar idea, but using this whole event that we are in at the moment and just creating a buzz, like going either to person and talking with them, getting their email and then emailing them the whole portfolio and saying, okay, this is the plan, this is what these young people want to do. And then maybe through social media, creating like a side event for lunch break and inviting everyone who's interested in, I don't know, outside and showing them all the portfolio and then trying to find partners outside the summit who are actually interested in those portfolios and trying to help them.
Cool, great.
Thank you.
Yay. So both of these focus on basically getting people excited and committed before we've actually built the technology, which I think is a great approach. Did anyone have quite a different approach? Yeah, great. Where's the mic floating?
Well, we talked a little bit about protecting the artist's anonymity because, as we know, graffiti blurs a line, right, between sometimes being vandalism and sometimes being art, and a lot of these artists have their identities hidden for good reasons. So we talked about maybe just finding out the voices in that community first, if they're willing to put their information on such a website and say, here I am, this is where you can find me doing this illegal activity. And then also seeing about the markets and seeing who would be interested in contacting the artists themselves.
Nice, thank you. Clap, clap, clap. Hey! Cool, so that's a great question as well, right? Like, do artists want to even post their stuff online? Because it might be illegal, and we might be getting all of them thrown in prison. And then it wouldn't be a very popular website. The way I like to look at new ideas is I look at them and I go, okay, what am I scared about this idea? If this idea wasn't going to work, why not? So some of what you guys have brought up, so it's sort of, can we get lots of people excited? Can we grow this movement? Do street artists actually want this tool? Do they have other security concerns that we need to find a way to alleviate? I love the idea of actually going in to like getting a few portfolios together, building a free website, and then actually going in and trying to sell your artists, get someone to hire them. Because then suddenly money is flowing through and you know that the whole business works. You've actually created the value. I talked to someone who wanted to create a social enterprise, basically doing crowdfunding to get people their first home. And it was a really cool idea, and he was trying to raise something like $10 million so that he could do this. But that's crazy, right? Like, the homes don't cost very much. They only cost about $10,000. So the first step is to get, a couple hundred friends to each chip in $50, and then bam, you've bought someone a house. It's like suddenly it's in business, right? You've connected the whole thing. And then if you do need to raise funding, or you do need to convince a friend to join your team or help you build your website, you've got something real to show for it. You've taken that first step by yourself. And if there's one thing to take away, it's like, to me, startups at the early stages, they're all about figuring out what that first step is. You can't build the whole thing all at once. It's just too big, right? You have to know you're going somewhere you want to go for all of the reasons we talked about at the beginning of the day. And those are your own reasons, right? But to get there, there's that first step. And deciding what it is, to me, that's strategy, basically. Given the resources I actually have, not the resources I wish I had one day, but what I have right now, how can I get started? How can I make, without anyone's permission, without anyone's support, like how can I use the money, the people, the things I know right now and actually get it going? Because I promise you, once you started, people want to help you. It's crazy. You wouldn't believe the difference. When I had this, it was basically just an idea. We hadn't launched it. Whoops, sorry. We hadn't launched it. It was just an idea. Everyone told us it was stupid. They told us it would never work. It was an idea. They're like, yeah, it's difficult. As soon as we actually put something out into the world, like all we got was help and support. They're like, oh, you need to talk to this person. You need to talk to this person. You got to get the ball rolling yourself. This is another one. This one's pretty straightforward. Let's say you want to build a website, but it's going to take you 7 weeks. You don't want to spend 7 weeks building a website that nobody's going to use or pay you for. How do you figure out whether people are going to pay you? This one's sort of a classic, so I'll just tell you the answer because I'm sure you already know it. And this was done by a great entrepreneur, a guy named Joel. He spent a couple hours and he set up a website. And the first website said, these are the 3 features. It does these 3 things. Boom, boom, boom. Do you want to buy it? Here's how much it costs. Then you can say, oh yeah, I want to see how much it costs. That took you to a second page, which said it costs, $0, $5, or $20 a month. Would you like to buy it? And if you clicked the yes, you would, it went to a third website, or a third page, which said, whoops, sorry, it doesn't actually exist yet. But like, I'm thrilled that you're interested in it. I would love to talk to you to figure out what you need so that I can make sure I make exactly what you want. And from that, he got into conversation with about 100 people who he knew already wanted to buy what he was going to build. And he had email conversations with all of them. And he got to really understand exactly what they cared about, just like you brought up, right? What are they concerned about? What do they really care? Why are they bothering to do this? And then by the time he committed to actually building it, he already had people he knew were going to pay him. That's great. Like, you don't want to build... it's like, you see as well, sometimes you'll see like charities who are looking for people to help. And to me, that's the same as like a website that's looking for customers. It's sort of like it's missed the mark a little bit. And there's a huge number of reasons this can happen. But what you ideally want is you want to know in advance that people really want what you're making. Whether it's that they want to be helped by it or they want to buy it. And sometimes we can get really sneaky. I talked to a team, they wanted to start a training business, but it was going to cost them 5,000 euros to get the certification they needed. And they were debating this. They'd been debating it for weeks. Should we spend the money? That's a lot of money. Do we spend it? We barely have that much money. Is this business going to work? But it's actually pretty easy to figure out, right? You can go sell your services now, and if anyone buys it, go get certified. Or you can say, hey, I'm not certified yet. But we're good at this. Can I just come in and give it to your team for free? Get some testimonials. If someone won't take it for free, then maybe like you don't need to bother like getting the expensive certification and charging them for them. Maybe you don't even enjoy doing this stuff. Doing it. These guys had never run this training, and they were thinking about spending all their money to make a job out of that. Man, I would want to know if I enjoyed it first. You definitely don't want to work really hard to build a job you don't enjoy, right? Are any of you guys interested in physical products? Yeah, one. Maybe you'll be more interested when you figure out how easy it actually is. It's unbelievable. If you had an idea for a product, you'd have to get your molds and your manufacturing equipment built. It was so expensive. Nowadays, it's really easy, and people have been being clever for a while. Do you guys have, when I was growing up in the US, there were these ads for ridiculous products which would come on late at night. Like this one, it's a blanket with arms. It's called the Snuggie. It's basically a bathrobe, but you wear it backwards. It's like a pretty dumb idea, you've got to admit, and it's hugely popular. But before they made it, they didn't know if it was going to be popular or not. So the guy who came up with the Snuggie, he's like, trust me, blanket with arms, good idea. The guy sitting across from him was like, that's idiotic. Why are you even here? And he's like, no, it's great, trust me, it's genius. but they decide they can settle it for barely any money. So what they do is they run the TV ad before the product exists. And they say, hey, you can buy it, we'll deliver it, but it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to be delivered. Do you guys see what's happening here? They're only going to manufacture the products if enough people buy them. If people don't want the product, they don't need to build it. Right? It's like an awesome trick. Sell it first, then build it if they want it. There's so much you can do like this. I know guys who bought, they got an entire floor of a New York City skyscraper with no money. Because they got their customers to pay them in advance, and then they use that money to get their skyscraper. Which is just, it's crazy. There's another company that set up an airline like this. You would be amazed what you can get away with if you're just like willing to ask people for money. The modern version of this is Kickstarter. I actually wanted to show you, I just ran a Kickstarter because I've never done one before, and I wanted to see what it was like. So this one ended like a week ago. We were making a card game. We made this card game, and I'll show you what the prototypes look like in a second, but it was going to be quite expensive to manufacture. I needed to make like 2,000 copies, and so I didn't want to make 2,000 copies of a game that nobody bought. So you put it on Kickstarter and you say, hey, pay me today, and if enough people pay me, I'll build it. And it did really well. We got way more money than we needed. We only needed $10,000 to make it, and we got more than that. So now we're manufacturing the game and sending it to people. And the first version of that actually looked like this. Whoops. You know, it's like, the prototypes don't need to be complicated. We just needed to find out if our game was fun. That's our first job. Like, why bother doing anything else if the game's not fun? And so I had like, I'd invite tons of people over and we'd have like board game nights and we would play all these games that I'd drawn onto blank cards. And it was great. And it doesn't look like a business, but this is what the beginnings of businesses look like. They look weird. You know, it's a couple guys in a garage. It's, you know, a couple people after school, or like whoever, like making sewing stuff and then selling it on eBay. Like, that's the beginnings. And the huge empires, they grow out of this stuff. Yeah, great. There's also really something to be said for just getting started. Wikipedia, we look at Wikipedia now and it seems like this enormous product, right? And who is crazy enough to think of Wikipedia? As an idea, it's kind of crazy. It's an encyclopedia, but anyone can add to it. But where it actually came from is they had a regular encyclopedia, and one day they're like, hey, let's just try adding this little feature. It's not crazy, just one little feature. We'll see what happens. I'm like, bam, one of the most important sites on the internet. It didn't come out of a big debate. It didn't come out of a huge, like, ambitious plan. They weren't trying to actively change the world. They're like, let's try something. Yeah, maybe it'll work. We'll see what happens. He was one of the co-founders of Nupedia, I believe. Does anyone know right or wrong for a fact? Yeah, I believe that Nupedia was the original company, and then Wikipedia spun out of it, and Jimmy Wales took that over. So we talked about a few different approaches. We talked about stripping features out. You can really simplify down. If you get fast, your life's just so much easier. You don't want to be taking months to release a version of what you're trying to do. What you want it to take a week, ideally, or less. It's like each version of your company should take a week. Whether it's the next version of your website, whether it's the next proposal that you're going to take and try to sell to people, it's like you got to simplify down to the point where every week you're able to make it a little bit better. If it's taking months, you've thrown away the biggest advantage you have. And then one other thing that really surprises people in the early days is what a difference a community can make. We talked about the benefit of knowing partners and co-founders, but the other really important type of people you can know is your customers. if you have a blog or you run a big Facebook group or a big and popular meetup, like that's a group of people who care about something. Like this is a group of people who care about something. If you get all those people together and they look up to you, and you can say, you can direct that energy, like suddenly like companies and social enterprises and nonprofits, all this stuff is suddenly so possible. It's such an incredible asset. And as when you're starting out your career, I really think that it's worth building your own audience, because it's something that you can take with you from job to job and from company to company. You never have to give it away. If people read your blog, if they follow your thoughts, if they look up to your opinions, it makes you so much more valuable to employers, but then you also don't need them. You can always take your own tribe, your own group, and say, hey, I know what you guys like. I built a new product for you. You know? Like, here you are. Here's this. I know you already want it because I know you. And you trust me, so it's easy for you to buy it. And this is kind of the idea of building a movement. Companies don't have to start with technology. This was brought up earlier. Companies can start with a group of people who care about what it's trying to accomplish. And then later, you can just add the technology to make them more efficient. This is a great approach, right? It's a totally reasonable first step. If your first step is to get 100 excited people, you're doing great. Never let don't let anything stop you, is basically what I'm trying to say. There's always a first step that uses the resources that you have available to you. So before we get out of here, I want to get out a couple minutes early, but I want you to do one last thing, and then I think, yeah, well, we may have a couple closing comments. I want you to figure out what you could start building now that would help you for the rest of your career. What you could build now that would be the most important asset you don't already have that would make your next company easier. Is it going to be connections to business partners and co-founders? Is it going to be your own audience of potential customers who looks up to you? Is it a missing skill, like knowing how to program? What's the most important thing that you could get? Is it taking care of your finances and getting rich so that you don't need to worry about time anymore and you can spend all your time working on what you care about? What's the most important thing you could build that's going to help you, not right now, but with your next company? So we'll just take like 2 minutes. What's the most important thing you're missing? Remember all the things stopping you from building your company? Like, what's the one that would make the most difference if you started getting it today? All right, 2 minutes. I'll set a little timer. Silence. the big thing you can build? Five seconds. All right, that's time. What came up? Like, you could just shout them out, sort of like a word or two. Equipment. What do you mean by equipment? Okay, so building up the equipment and the infrastructure, getting people to donate computers, finding cheap suppliers who will give it to you, finding ways of getting that supply. That's an awesome thing to start building up now. You can start collecting it. You can let people know that's what's going to really help you. Great.
Code literacy.
Code literacy, perfect. Learning how to program just opens up so many possibilities for the sort of stuff you can build. It takes a little while. You can learn to make a website in a weekend, but to learn to build a full business online is going to take you 6 months to 2 years. So if that's going to be important for your career, definitely start learning it.
Networking.
Okay. What sort of people would you like to meet?
Anyone I could meet, like I'm a programmer right now, so I don't know a lot on the business side. I don't know a lot on the legal side. So meet different people.
Attention everybody, we've got a programmer looking to meet business and legal people. Right there, make your way over, don't all rush. Cool.
I think people skills is also a big problem because some people have trouble actually talking to their customers, and they spend a lot of months trying to find a partner who does this for them, or while they deal with the rest in the back. And some people lose a lot of time, months, maybe even years, doing that. And they hope that they wish that they learned these people's skills at an earlier time, so they wouldn't waste so much time and money.
Yeah, there are certain skills that are just valuable to have. Knowing how to sell, knowing a little bit about technology, knowing a little bit about design, knowing how to talk to people. These things just keep paying off over and over and over. So yeah, starting to fill in the missing gaps is huge. Let's take one more, yeah.
I think reputation. If I already have a good company, people is going to trust me and buy my product. Reputation.
Nice, yeah, reputation, especially if you know there's, and let's do there was one more in the very back corner. We haven't heard much from that corner. Yeah, if you have a good reputation, especially in an industry you care about, like let's say you know that you want to stay in the medical industry, if you get a good reputation within like the medical community, then it makes every one of your companies easier, right? It makes your whole career easier. That's a great thing to build up.
And I'm Jerry from Hong Kong. I feel that a trendy mind that is always up to date is very important, because talking about businesses that's outdated, no one will do business with you, even if you're good at making businesses. Yeah.
Cool, yeah, definitely staying on top of things. Having the right timing and just staying aware to what's going on in the world is huge. The ones that I like these are kind of your unfair advantage that you're going to build up over time. And it's what's going to make you better at starting these companies, these movements, these social enterprises than anyone else. And I think like all of these are great. The ones that came to mind when I thought about it is getting to know future co-founders. It's so, so important to have the right people on your team. Getting better at the big three kind of building skills, so programming, design, and sales. And having a side project that you take seriously. Even if it's just a blog, if you actually try to make that like popular, if you try to drive traffic to it, if you try to improve it, if you try to make it better, you learn so, so much. And lastly, building any kind of audience, getting people to follow you, look up to you, building that reputation, all of these things will keep paying off. And every project you want to run, every company you want to start, will be easier because of this. And it lets you take a bigger first step, you know? Even with where you're at now, you can always take that first step. You just need to be clever. You need to find a way to do it without the money and without the connections. You need to choose an idea, which you're able to do now. That's fine. One of the biggest powers you have is choosing an idea that you can actually start today. There's always time for the other ideas later. You've got a whole career of this. You don't need to do everything in your first idea. But then also start building up what you're going to need so that you can really go after the big one when you're ready for it. So that's all for the morning. We've got another couple hours in the afternoon. So far we've been talking mostly about the mindset and the attitude and how to take that big idea and actually start making progress on it. It's hugely important. And if you take nothing else away, I think that will serve you well. Find a way to get started that you don't need other people's support for, right? Find a way to take that first step yourself. In the afternoon, we're going to look at some of the technology and tools which make it a lot easier, and kind of some of the more practical steps about how you actually, like, what do I actually need to do? How do I get paid that first dollar? What are some of the different types of businesses I can start? And what I really, really want is I want you guys, when you're done with today, I want you to know what the first step is that you can take to start on a company or a project that you care about, that meets your goals and is going to do what you want it to do. So are there any closing words before we break for lunch? No? Okay. Thanks so much, guys. Lunch is down by the pool, and it starts serving just about now. So thanks a lot, and see you in the afternoon. Oh, also one last thing that I'll say is two of you tonight are going to kind of make a little presentation in front of everybody. It's very fun. So we'll decide at the end of the afternoon who that should be and who wants to do it. But just, keep in mind, if you think that you might be interested in sort of talking about lessons learned and what needs to change legally to make this easier and break down some of the entrepreneurial walls for us, have a think, and we'll figure it out in the afternoon.